Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to part 3 of our series where we talk about Modern Masters 2017 and what cards we really want to see reprinted. Now, we've talked about the white cards already, we've talked about the blue cards. Today, we're going to talk about all the black cards, and Liliana of the Veil, I'll call it out right now, it's on the title screen, is one of the big ones that we're going to talk about in a few minutes here. The criteria, pretty much the same as the other two videos. We're going to look at two things. First off, how often are these cards played in Modern? So any card that is in multiple Modern decks is going to get special consideration. And even if the card doesn't have a super high price tag, you will see it listed here just because for a lot of these cards, they don't have a lot of opportunities to get reprints. And even though they might not cost a whole lot today, do have to consider if it goes another 2 years without a reprint and we wait for the next Modern Masters or something like that, inflation could bring the card up pretty high, and we'd like to see that cut off before it actually occurs. Secondly, we're going to look at cards that are just expensive, that really need reprints. And some of these cards might not see as much modern play as the staples, but at the same time, we have seen in the past for Modern Master sets that, yes, it is about modern staples, but it's also about creating a fun, limited environment, which means there are going to be cards in the set that are not big modern cards. And a lot of times, WotC has been nice enough to give us some great casual cards, some great commander cards in these sets. So you will see at least a few cards that fall under that category as well. Quickly before we get started, if you check out the description below, you'll find a link to our Amazon affiliate store, a great way to help support us in what we do. Any purchases you make through any of those links, a small percentage will come back to help support the channel. A lot of the cards we talk about today are on there, as well as a whole bunch of sealed product. Also, you'll find links to our Patreon page, another great way to help us out. And we recently updated the page with new rewards and new goals. And check out our Patreon page to find out how you can get a limited edition Heroes and Legends Angel Classic Art token that you see here on the screen. They really came out great. Very excited about those. So check that out on Patreon. Okay, so much like previous videos, this is divided into 3 sections. Our first section, we're going to look at some key cards from some modern decks. For the most part, these are cards that are only played in maybe 1 or 2 archetypes. Then we're going to go ahead and look at some Fringe cards. And what I mean by Fringe, those are the cards that are maybe more commander cards or more casual cards. Not to say they don't see modern play at all, but these are cards that have high demand and pretty decent price tags to them. That it would just be nice to see a reprint. And finally, we'll hit the staples. These are the big modern cards that are in multiple decks. All right, let's get started with Ad Nauseam. One card in particular I wanted to feature from Ad Nauseam was Skithrix the Blight Dragon. Right now priced at $14.66, and I'll be real honest with you, is this card in every Ad Nauseam deck? No, probably not. It shows up usually as a one of in the sideboard for certain builds as an answer to some matchups, but quite honestly, again, with this price tag, the fact that it's never been reprinted, and it is a relatively popular casual card too in a lot of decks, considering the Infect piece of it. If Infect happens to be one of the sub-themes in the set, it'd be nice to see this card show up. Next is Death Shadow's Aggro. A couple of cards I wanted to feature from this deck, and this is a relatively popular aggro deck that you see out there. But the first one, probably no surprise, is actually Death Shadow from Worldwake. $7.64 has never seen a reprint. It's a key part of this deck. And yes, it's not super expensive. It's not going to completely break your bank if you needed a play set of these. But again, where is this going to see a reprint? If it doesn't show up in another 2 years or so, this easily becomes a $15, $20 card. So this is a good opportunity to cut that off of the past. The other card, Bitter Blossom, this was reprinted in Modern Masters 2015, but still with a price tag of $25.72. And this is kind of a funny card because it was originally banned when Modern became a format. They unbanned it, and it took players a little while to figure out what to do with it. There was this weird time where people were kind of thinking, well, maybe it's not really that good in Modern. And then it did get a reprint in Modern Masters 2015. And at that time, it still hadn't really fallen into its home. But since then, it found a place in this particular deck, and it's very popular. I'd be very happy to see the card show up again. Dredge, alright. So Dredge took a little bit of a hit with the banning of Golgari Grave Troll, but it's still a pretty popular deck and is still doing well out there. And I wanted to mention 3 cards from that deck. The first one being Bloodghast at $19.89 from the original Zendikar. It's about time for a reprint for that one. Second one, Bridge from Below. I'll be honest with you, more recent versions of the Dredge deck don't seem to be running this. This card has started to fall out of favor in that regard, but it's still $12.33, and it hasn't been reprinted since the first Modern Masters. I wouldn't mind seeing it again. And finally, Leyline of the Void, most recently printed in Magic 2011, $15.66. Huge piece of sideboard tech. Honestly, not just for the Dredge deck, but I did include it here because pretty much you're going to find this in most Dredge deck sideboards to deal with the mirror. All right, next we have Golgari Aggro, and you're probably pretty familiar with those Golgari Aggro decks you see in Standard, but there is one in Modern that isn't a super popular deck, but it shows up from time to time. One key card I wanted to focus on, though, from that deck was Death Baron from Shards of Allura, $19.03. It did see a reprint in Plane Chase, but quite honestly, that was a long time ago now. And yes, this doesn't see extensive Modern play, but this is a card that does see a little bit of play in the format and is also a huge casual favorite. Great commander card. And if there is a tribal sub-theme that maybe involves zombies, for example, since we are adding Innistrad now to the envelope of Modern Masters, and there's a good chance of that, then this would be a really good card to include also for limited purposes. Goryo's Vengeance. This is another deck that has been pretty popular over the last year or so, and a couple cards I wanted to show from that one, and you guessed it, Goryo's Vengeance being one of them at $23.88 from Betrayers of Kamigawa. Never saw a reprint. And the other one, Griselbrand, at $12.55. Griselbrand from Avacyn Restored would be a great way to showcase the inclusion of that block in the new Modern Masters. Lantern Control, another real popular deck. One card in black I wanted to focus on quickly, Infernal Tutor, $20.09. This card from Dissension, again, has never seen a reprint. It's overdue at this point. Mono Black Devotion. You don't see a whole lot of these in Modern. They do probably a lot like the aggro deck, the Golgari aggro deck. They show up from time to time. Sometimes you see these actually as Golgari Devotion decks. But there were a couple cards I wanted to showcase from these. The first being Grave Pack. Last time we saw it was 10th edition. It's up to $11.69. And Phyrexian Obliterator, $29.40, has never seen a reprint. All right, let's talk about some Fringe cards. And these are cards that see, quite honestly, very little to no Modern play. But like I said at the top of the show, we have seen in the past that Modern Masters isn't just about Modern. It is also about creating a limited environment that includes some staples that hopefully players will be able to do something with outside of that limited game, which could be casual or commander or cube cards. So that's what you're going to see here. These are some cards that are maybe more casual cards that have high price tags. Kokusho, the Evening Star, $16.33. Now, this did get a reprint in the first Modern Masters. What they did, though, in that set, which I didn't really like that much, is they reprinted all 5 of these dragons, the whole cycle, as mythics. So that was a big chunk of your mythics, and this one was pretty decent. The other ones maybe not as exciting, and there are a couple of them, when you got those as your mythic, did not feel good at all. So I don't want to see that again. But if they're desperately looking to add a random kind of large black flying creature, I wouldn't be sad to see this one get a reprint. Maybe at the rare slot. I think as long as the limited game was strong enough and there's some decent removal and such, that this could actually be a decent rare. Lord of the Undead, $10.72, last seen in 10th edition. And much like the card we saw a few moments ago, Death Baron, this is another one that could perhaps be actually fun and limited, again, if there's maybe a zombie theme in there. Mikaeus the Unhallowed at $19. And this is another one, hasn't seen a reprint, huge card in Commander. And again, other non-human creatures you control get +1/+1. That could include zombies, so perhaps that could be another element to the limited game. And this is another card that, I don't know, it is a strong card, but does it have to be mythic? This maybe could fit in the right limited environment as a rare. Nirkana Revenant. This is another card that's relatively old now, Rise of the Eldrazi. Still hasn't seen a reprint. More than happy to get one at some point here. $18.94 for this one. Sheoldred Whispering One, $8.05. Another card that is yet to be reprinted. And again, the last one and this one, I also feel like maybe don't necessarily have to be mythics. Maybe these could be rares. Again, as long as your limited environment can support that. But this is a casual favorite, actually a very big commander card, but it also sees play in some Eternal formats like Legacy. And our last Fringe card I added here was Soren Markov. And this did get a reprint in Magic 2012, which at this point is actually a while ago. And still priced at $15.85. Again, it's more of a casual favorite card for sure. And I'll be quite honest with you. I think there's going to be a different Black Planeswalker that's going to be at Mythic in this set. So we're probably not going to see Soren in this one. All right, let's talk about staples. These are the cards that see play in multiple Modern decks. And like I said at the top of the show, some of these might not be super expensive, but they are seeing so much play that it is important that WotC stays ahead of the game with some reprints. All right, the first card. Here we go. Damnation. $58.31. Planar Chaos. Never been reprinted. This is the running joke in the community at this point, is Damnation is just never going to be reprinted. It seems like every set that comes out, folks think this is going to be it. We're going to get Damnation. And it just doesn't show up. We've had Modern Masters sets go by. We've had Eternal Masters go by. We've had Conspiracy sets go by. Some people even hold out hope that it could show up in a standard release, but everyone comes and goes, and it just never, ever shows up. Not even in a From the Vault. So where is this card? What is going on? And folks have asked Wizards, asked Mark Rosewater. He's responded that they don't want to just reprint cards to reprint cards. They want to do it when it makes sense and it fits with what they're doing. So the question is, Modern Masters 2017, is Damnation going to fit in with what they're doing? Well, I hope so. And the thing about this card is, you know, a few months back or a year ago, I probably would have said, well, maybe this feels more like an Eternal card than a Modern card, but this is actually seeing a lot of Modern play now. And it's sort of crept into the format, like while you're not even looking. And all of a sudden, a lot of decks are running it. So it definitely could belong in this set. I don't see why not. So hopefully this is it. I guess we'll find out. I mean, there's a good chance if this is in the set, it gets the bump up to Mythic. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like it would be a fine rare, even in limited. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Dark Confidant. $37.16 from the original Ravnica, got reprinted in both Modern Masters, but still seeing a lot of play. It had a little bit of a lull for a bit where you weren't seeing it as much, but John decks have made a comeback now, as well as a number of other decks that run this card. And yeah, I'd be more than happy to see this reprinted again. Dismember. Okay, here's a good example of a card that isn't super expensive at $2.25. It was reprinted in Modern Masters 2015, but it is a very, very big Modern staple at this point. And if you don't reprint it here, it goes a couple years, I could easily see this becoming $7, $8, $9, $10 uncommon. You just don't want that. Inquisition of Kozilek. $8.55 right now. I have the Rise of the Eldrazi one pictured here, which was an uncommon. This did get a reprint in Conspiracy Take the Crown as a rare, but even the rare from that set goes for around $8 or so. So the prices are pretty comparable, and it's seeing a lot of play. If it doesn't get another reprint at some point down the road, this could easily creep back up to the $10, $15, and even $20 range. Liliana of the Veil. Okay, I've been talking about her on and off throughout the show, but $94.21, the most expensive Planeswalker, sees extensive play in Modern. I would be shocked if this card is not in the set, and I think a lot of people would be. This is almost a no-brainer. Like, this is the lock of the set for me. There's two cards I'm pretty positive are going to be in there. This one and Snapcaster. I do think Snapcaster will get the bump up to Mythic, but I think those are going to be two of the marquee cards that are going to help sell Modern Masters 2017. They're new to the Modern Masters series. Of course, this is the first time we've traveled into Innistrad in that series. So this is the first time they've had the ability to put those cards in. If they didn't do it, fans would be devastated. I mean, it would be crushing. They can't not include this card. So it will be there. I have no doubt. She has seen a promo reprint, but has seen no other reprints. It's definitely time. Surgical Extraction, a great sideboard card. This did see a reprint in Modern Masters 2015. It's still a $14.60 card. I'd be happy to see it again. And our last card is Thoughtseize. Now, I will point out, we're looking at the Lorwyn version here at $26.47. However, you can get the Theros version actually much cheaper at this point. So you don't have to spend this much for the card if you're trying to pick it up. But the reason I showed this one is a lot of folks really liked the original art, and maybe it would be kind of cool to get the original art back for this card, or maybe a different piece of art. I don't know. So yes, you can get a little bit cheaper, but it is seeing a lot of play. And again, if you don't reprint it at some point soon, and it feels like they don't really want to reprint Thoughtseize and Standard ever again. They kind of felt like that was a mistake, at least from what WotC has said in the past, or folks from WotC have said. So I think that it's going to be supplemental products that you'll see this in the future. So Modern Masters 2017 would be a good place to put it. And having said that, those are the black cards we want to see reprinted. Like I said, a few of these are maybe a little far-fetched, but it's just us kind of spitballing some cards out there that really I wouldn't be sad to see any of these show up. And some of them could really create an interesting limited format as well. Now, let me know in the comments below your thoughts and what cards we didn't think of that are in black that you'd like to see in the set. Maybe something you've been looking to pick up for a long time that's hard to find. Until next time, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.